So we talked a little bit about lead generation in the first session of this series when we were looking at various calls to action you might have on your website, ways of connecting with people or getting people to give their name and email so that you can follow up with them. So this is something that you might include on your website, a lead generation style page. Here's a great example again from Elise's website. Get the work you want in 2 simple steps. You fill this out and she will give you her 2-step marketing sheet for creative pros. We had a couple of other examples up in the first session, but this is just basically you're going to put something on your website to give people a reason to let you know that they were there, that they're interested, and so that you can follow up. So some tips about lead generation. One thing, just like your blog, you want to have it professional, ready to go. Before you say anything about it, you want to make sure that it's ready. So if it's a report, if it's a video training, whatever it is, make sure that it's complete. You don't want to bother collecting people's name and email address and not giving them the thing that you promised. Nobody wants to hear, oh, I'll send this to you soon, or this is coming soon. They want it then. So make sure you have that piece. Make sure it's relevant to your ideal clients. So just like the blog post topics, whatever the report is about, whatever the training is about, needs to be relevant to the person that you're hoping to land as your potential client. So for example, 8 SEO techniques to get your pet copywriting website to show up on Google. Something very specific to that audience. Make sure it's a high quality sample. So if you're doing an ebook or a report, have it laid out. Make it professional. If it's a video, good sound quality, good clear video. That's such a great opportunity for you to provide a sample, right? Your lead generation piece is a sample of your work. So make sure it's the best it can possibly be. And just like in the blog post, use it to demonstrate your value and your expertise. Look at my depth of knowledge, how much I know, how much I can help you, the tone and style of my voice. Again, it's a great sample to put your best foot forward in front of potential clients.
Hey, Guillermo here. And first of all, I just want to say congratulations on making it through to the end of the program. That's a huge accomplishment, and you should feel proud of yourself. So please celebrate. And what I want to do here is just show you how I would incorporate all these 7 principles into writing an email. So let's do that. So let's say I'm going to write an email. This email will be for AWAI is a client in Rebecca Matters voice, right? So let's go through here, and it's going to be for, the goal is to get the reader to click through to read the sales letter for, let's say Nick Osborne's digital copywriting program. I think that's what it's called. Anyhow, so this is basically what the email is going to be for, just to give you some context. So your prospects' awareness levels. So I would first think through, okay, who am I writing to? Well, Nick's program is an advanced program at AWAI. It's a higher priced program too. And so most likely this prospect has already bought something from AWAI, probably something lower price. So they're probably already a customer, which means they're already aware of the fact that, the writer's life exists. They already are aware of, that copywriting is a way to make money. And they're probably aware that you can do it by writing online copy. So they're pretty aware. I wouldn't say they're product aware, but they're definitely problem aware and maybe and most likely solution aware too. So that's that part. And then writing in the right voice. This is going to be, like I said right here, it's going to be in Rebecca Matters voice. So it's a friendly, conversational voice. It's not in your face. It's not going to be controversial. It's just going to be friendly, helpful, being of service. All right. So I'm going to start the email here, and then as I write the email, I'll go through each of these parts to kind of help you understand how it all plays out. So we have a subject, we have our preview text, we have our salutation using personalization there. And the sign off is just going to simply be Rebecca. And most likely we'll have a PS. And so the body copy will go here. And the subject line will go here. And the preview text will go here. Right, simple enough so far. I'm just creating a little template or structure for myself here. Just going to do that. Just going to highlight this so my client knows that it's one of those personalization fields. All right, so we have our little template here. So pre-framing. How do I want to pre-frame somebody that's going to read this email and then click over to read about Nick Usborne's digital copywriting program? I would say that for this, I want to make them feel excited. Just excited that there's this great opportunity to make a living as a writer. So that would be my pre-framing. So we'll just write it here: pre-framing, excitement. That's the emotion we're going for. All right. Now, logic, structure, and flow. So let's answer these two questions, right? With logic, structure, and flow, we're going to answer what's my goal, right? So my goal in this case is to get the reader to click over to the sales page for Nick's program. And then the second part of that question is what's going to give me my little structure here for my email. What would my reader have to know, believe, or accept as true to achieve that goal? Well, they'd have to know that there's a great writing opportunity that's right now. They'd have to know that it's in demand. They'd have to know that it's easy to get started and a great way for beginners to get started. They'd probably have to know that a top expert teaches the course. And maybe, they'd have to know the kind of the size of the opportunity, like how much they can make, what kinds of projects, what those go for, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll put that here. Switch the order there. All right. So we got all that so far. Next step is going to be the first sentence, right? So let's first give ourselves a subject line using the curiosity plus benefit plus proof formula. And we'll get a preview text in there, and then we'll start writing the email, starting with the first sentence. And then, so let me just copy paste this into the email there so I can go walking you through as I do each part. Actually, let's leave the PS where the PS is in this little template I got going. We'll delete that, and we'll paste this over here just so you can follow along. All right, so subject line, we want a curiosity and a benefit, most likely. I'm not sure we're going to be able to use proof for this example since I'm doing it off the top of my head. So let's see. So there we go. That'll be our subject line. So we have the curiosity element. What is this opportunity? And the implied benefit here is that, it's a big opportunity that you'll benefit from it financially, right? Preview text, we can say it's part of we'll give them a clue. I don't know, I'm just making this up, 300 billion a year market. All right, so we have our subject line and we have our preview text. Then we might add today there on the subject line. All right, so we want to pre-frame with excitement, and we already have this part, our little framework here. Okay, so we have hi, first name. If you're a new writer, so we're on the part of the first sentence here. So we got to grab their attention right away. So let's do that here. If you're a new writer who wants one of the easiest and fastest ways to get your career started, look no further than this niche. And we'll even add a little link here. So if somebody's curious enough, they'll click, and if not, they'll keep reading. So bonus tip there. So oftentimes I like to put little links early on, just because if somebody reads this and they're curious enough, they'll just go ahead and click. But if they're not, then we give them more information using the structure to let them kind of keep pre-framing them so that they're ready to click the link during the call to action. So let's see. If you're a new writer who wants one of the easiest and fastest ways to get your career started, look no further than this niche. There are over 30 million potential clients who desperately need help with their copy. And I'm just making up these numbers. You should actually never make up numbers. You should actually always research. But just for the sake of this example, I'm just coming up with these numbers just to show you how I would create this email. So let's see. If you're a new writer who wants one of the easiest and fastest ways to get your career started, look no further than this niche. There are over 30 million potential clients who desperately need help with their. There are over 30 million potential clients who desperately need help with their copy, and they don't mind hiring new writers. Plus, it's super easy to learn how to write the kind of copy they need, right? So I've kind of fulfilled these first two. Let's see. The pay is also great too. Most projects are just, I don't know, maybe we'll call it 200 to 1,000 words. The pay, anywhere from, we'll call it 500 to, I'll say $500, $1,000, even $1,000 or more. That's per project. No, not now. Project. All right. Even better. So now we're getting ready to kind of set up the call to action. So see how short these emails are? They don't have to be super long. They're typically just, like this one's 262 words so far. Or actually just this part is probably less. Let's go to word count. We're looking at 104 words, probably around 150 words once we're done. Maybe 200 once you have the PS. So let's see here. So this is for the call to action. So we're getting ready for the call to action, and so we need the 4 U's. So I'm starting to set it up here. So even better, we've locked down the top expert in the world in how to write this kind of copy to show you how it's done. So that's the first U, right? It's unique because, you're not going to find this anywhere else, right? It's the top expert in the world on how to write this kind of copy. And he'll share with you how to write these assignments from the ground up, and in a way that's easy to follow. So this is the useful part. Easy to follow, and anyone can do. I'm not sure we're going to be able to use urgent in this particular email, but that's okay. So far we have unique because of the top expert in the world. We have useful. We have some usefulness right there. Ultra specific, I'm not, again, sure I'm going to be able to use in this here. So long as I have 2 of the U's, I think we're in good shape. There we go, adding some specificity. Oh, and you can learn how to do this all in as little as a weekend. If you'd like to learn more, along with how you can get started right away, click here. There we go. Very simple call to action. And again, I'm just doing this off the cuff, so it's not particularly the best copy in the world. I would probably go back and, really think through all this, but I just want to give you kind of the gist of how I work here and how these concepts play out. So far, let's read the email. So we have the subject line here, preview text, right? Subject line follows, or the preview text is related to the subject line. And our subject line, our body copy, our first sentence, our first couple of sentences relate to the subject line. So we're not, clickbaiting or bait and switching the reader. So we have, hi, first name. If you're a new writer who wants one of the easiest and fastest way to get your career started, look no further than this niche. And we have that little link there in case somebody's curious. There are over 30 million potential clients who desperately need help with their copy, and they don't mind hiring new writers. Plus, it's super easy to learn how to write the kind of copy they need. The pay is also great too. Most projects are just 200 to 1,000 words. The pay, anywhere from $500, $1,000, even $3,000 or more. And that's per project. Even better, we've locked down the top expert in the world in how to write this kind of copy to show you how it's done. He'll share with you how to write these assignments from the ground up, and in a way that's easy to follow and anyone can do. Oh, and you can learn how to do this all in as little as a weekend. So if that sounds like something you'd like to learn how to do, we'll just say, click here to learn more and how you can get started immediately. There we go. All right. So we have our call to action. We use two of the U's, maybe kind of three. We're pre-framing. We're getting them excited by telling them all these kind of little perks of learning this kind of project. We've got a good sentence, first sentence. Got the subject line, the preview text, salutation with personalization. And we have our sign off, which is Rebecca, and the PS. Let's see here. What can we say? Let's see. So with the PS, usually you can have urgency. You can basically recap what you've said. So if somebody is just scrolling along, they don't want to read all this copy, they might stop here and see, so maybe let's do that. Let's just recap. All right, so there's our PS. And sometimes I like to bold the PS so it stands out. Like if I'm just scrolling, let's say I'm just scrolling, it just really pops. And it'll cause somebody's going to be more likely to read it. And then we'll have another call to action here at the PS, just because somebody might not read the body copy and we want them to click the link. So there you have it. Writing an email from scratch, I don't know what that took, maybe like 10 minutes, me walking you through it. But you can see how quickly you can write these emails once you learn these concepts. And the more you do it, the faster you'll get. And the faster you get, the more money you'll make. So again, I hope you've enjoyed the program. And hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you got a lot out of this. And bye for now.
Welcome back. In this video, I'm just going to look at one thing, which is short form content, very short form copy or content writing within social media. So when we think about that, when we think about short form, we naturally think about Twitter because it's famous for allowing you only 140 characters plus name or link or whatever. Now, they keep talking about extending that. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But what's interesting about Twitter is that in the early days when it was first created and they had this 140 character limit, people laughed. The pundits laughed, the experts laughed, the newspaper columnists laughed, presenters on TV all laughed. It wasn't, I don't think, because the idea itself was laughable. I think it was because it's such a dramatic departure from traditional publishing. Now, all of social media is a dramatic departure from traditional publishing and marketing platforms. But Twitter, when it came out, 140 characters. I mean, the history of publishing and marketing has all been about long form. It's about newspaper articles, magazine articles, 1 hour TV specials, books. There's never been short form publishing that was so short that it was 140 characters. So that, I think, is why people laughed at it and said, hey, this is a waste of time, this is useless. Well, it turns out not so much. It's turned out to be really very interesting platform. And though Twitter has had its troubles and it hasn't achieved the kind of growth we've seen with platforms like Facebook, it is still a favorite of many people. And you will see a lot of kind of gurus out there. You'll see a lot of politicians out there, sports people, people in the entertainment industry who have massive followings on Twitter. And a lot of the time it's because this short form content really suits them. So what can you do with 140 characters? Well, it turns out you can do a lot more than people thought at the beginning. But I mean, in practical terms, if we're working for, using Twitter for ourselves or using it for our clients, we can use Twitter to announce new blog posts and add a link to a new blog post. We can share what's new, what we've heard. We can share the news. Perhaps the most famous thing about Twitter is how it has become a kind of breaking news platform. It kind of beats all traditional media to the punch. When something around the world happens, people hear about it on Twitter first. And of course, it's a sharing platform. It's a social platform. So we can like and we can share and we can comment on other people's tweets. So that's the kind of social element there. And of course, it's incredibly easy and fast to do. If you're thinking about putting together a YouTube video, that's quite the investment of work. If you're going to put together a really good Facebook update with image or video and supporting text, there's quite an investment of time and sort of production time in that. A tweet, not so much. Super fast, super easy, very little friction between the decision to use it and the final execution of what you do. The other great thing about Twitter, I think, and I think a lot of companies don't use this as well as they could, and so as always, there's an opportunity for us right there, and that is to use Twitter and other short-form platforms. Now, remember, it's not just Twitter that has a kind of limit on the number of words. Other platforms don't have that kind of specified limit, but certainly when you're using something like Instagram, where you're sharing an image, you tend to use just a few words in support of that image. So, short form writing, copywriting, social media writing extends across several different platforms. Twitter is simply the most famous of them. But this short form approach is super effective at what I'm going to call keep in touch marketing. And this is where you're keeping in touch with an audience with a light touch. So if I go back to that video I'm going to create for YouTube, and I put in a lot of time to create it, and I publish it, and I try and get the word out, and it's a 7-minute video, I'm asking an investment of 7 minutes of people's time to pay attention, to give me their time, give me their attention for 7 minutes. Well, that's quite a lot. If, however, I just reach out with a tweet and it's 6 words, what am I doing? I'm asking for 2 seconds, 3 seconds of attention. I haven't said as much, but it's a light touch. It's keep in touch marketing. It's fleeting and uncertain. But if I keep in touch with this light touch with thousands of people across thousands of tweets over the years, I am slowly building up a relationship. Hey, it's like the person that you see in the lineup at Starbucks, and you see him again and again, and after a while you kind of smile or raise a sort of wave or whatever, and then after a while after that, you find yourself standing, one behind the other, and you have a short, introduce yourselves. And it's been this light touch approach to building the relationship. Being no heavy investment of time, you both just lined up for Starbucks. And hey, you can actually build a friendship out of that over time, because based on this one commonality, which is lining up for coffee each morning. So there's incremental value to this kind of keeping in touch marketing. And that is something that Twitter is super good at. But a lot of companies don't get that. They don't do that. So write that down as value you can bring to the table with Twitter for your clients. So short form copywriting, short form content, short form social media writing. This is a new skill. It's a super new skill. It's just never been around. It's never been called for before. It's a work in progress. So in the early days, like I said earlier, people thought that short form content was just a waste of time. But it turns out you can do all kinds of valuable things with it, whether it's sharing links, whether it's that kind of light touch, gentle, incremental relationship building, whether it's sharing news. Short form writing is super valuable. And like I say, it builds value incrementally. It's those tiny little touch points, one at a time, that can build incredibly valuable business relationships. And this is true for B2C or B2B. Don't think this is just a consumer thing. I've seen companies use Twitter to do that same thing, that light touch, that slow relationship building, the keep in touch marketing on the B2B side. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful, because it means when you do reach out to that person and you want a more extended conversation, you already have the basis of a relationship to work from. So don't forget Twitter. Don't forget the power of short form content on Twitter and on other social media platforms. Thank you.
All right, so we know a good freelance website looks professional, so that when clients get there, they know that they're dealing with a professional. And now it's time to talk to that person, that client or that company, and let them know that they're in the right place. And when you're going to do that by expressing a clear value proposition, or in the copywriting program, we call it a unique selling proposition, the USP, that is prospect focused. Basically, we are writing a very strong message on our website, speaking directly to companies in our niche. Now, if you've been around AWI, you know we're going to encourage you to have a niche. It will make your website much more focused on your ideal clients and make it much easier to write. If you don't, you can still move forward. It'll just be a little more challenging, because ideally, you want the copy on your website to speak directly to the people you want to work for. I often recommend that you take the time and do some research and think about the companies that are in your niche that you really want when they come to your website to say, yes, I'm in the right place. So think about who those companies are and what do you want to tell them? How can you help them? What do you bring to the table that will help them achieve the goals that they have for their business? So let's look at some examples. This is petcopywriter.com. Obviously, if I'm in the pet industry, this is a skilled pet copywriter who can be on my team. I know instantly that I am in the right place. Here's another example in the automotive industry, written by car people for car people, right? Great. You know exactly, if you're in the automotive industry and you land on this website, yes, it's professional, and obviously you're in the right place. They have something for me here. And then finally, Rachel Kraft, an AWI member success story. She does lead magnets, and if you are looking for a lead magnet for your business, you are definitely in the right place. So there's something here for me as the potential client. And now let's head over to the third and final P.
Hello, and welcome to Part 1, Lesson 6 of How to Write Blogs for Yourself and for Clients, a step-by-step guide to blogging success. I'm Heather Robson, your host for this program, and this time around we are going to be looking at the importance of finding clarity about your audience, about what you want to achieve with your blog, and about why you're the best person for the job. Let's get started. Now, at this point, we have met a lot of expert bloggers, and some of them are making not just 6, but 7 figures from their blog. It's easy to get excited about this opportunity, and I hope that you are excited about this opportunity. But what I find is that when you're excited about an opportunity, it's also really easy to just dive right in without really thinking about where you're going. Now, I don't recommend delaying getting started and spending all your time planning and agonizing over every choice. But there is one thing that's worth a little bit of time and attention, and that is figuring out where you want to go with this endeavor. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're going to have a really hard time getting there. In the course of interviewing our experts, I heard quite a bit about the importance of clarity. Now, each expert came at this topic in a different way, but I think the person who really emphasized the importance of clarity most was Yarrow Stark. He says, I know from coaching my students the clarity about who you serve, what problem you help them solve. How does that translate into a business? That's quite murky to begin with. That would probably be the biggest thing, both finding clarity in who you serve and then being confident enough to believe that's an area that people will pay money to you to serve. So one of the things that Yarrow does is he actually coaches people who are in the process of launching a blog, or that's something that he has done in the past. And one of the experiences that he had over and over and over again was people were excited about the opportunity. They knew they could write. They knew they had something to offer, but they weren't quite sure how they wanted their blog to grow. They weren't quite sure who they wanted to serve, and they weren't quite sure what set them apart. And these are the three things that go into finding clarity. And if you figure these out now rather than later, you'll save yourself a lot of headaches and a lot of setbacks. When I spoke with John Morrow, he said, if you can't tell me off the top of your head what the 5 most popular posts are in your market, in either search or social, you're not ready. Now, that might sound a little bit blunt, but it's really true. If you're planning on launching a blog and you want to attract an audience and you want to offer something truly valuable, you have to know what's already working in that space. And when you know what's already working in that space and how you can differentiate yourself but still work in that space, that's going to set you well on the path to clarity. Sal O'Neill says, blog on your passions, but not on fleeting interests. Share yourself and your voice with the world. When you know yourself well enough to really know what it is that lights you up, that you're passionate about, that you can't wait to learn more about and explore and share with others, that's going to put you on the path to knowing exactly what you want to be writing about in your blog. And just by being your excited, enthusiastic, passionate self surrounding that topic, you'll be differentiating yourself and standing apart. Now, I mentioned earlier that it was important not to spend too much time agonizing and planning before launching your blog. That's one of the ways that we as writers tend to stall actually putting our work out there and getting feedback on it. And Danny Eine has some really important thoughts on this and how developing clarity is an evolving process with your blog. He says, I think that's a challenge a lot of people have, which is they start their business and their idea is kind of half-baked because it needs feedback from the market. And they need to evolve and respond to that. It's important to think about what you want to sell and what people value and what is your strength to deliver. Because in the absence of a good answer to that, if you just say, well, I'll put ads on my site, then it's a lowest common denominator sort of approach. It means you're going to get pretty much the worst possible return on attention that is imaginable. Now remember, Danny Eine talks about your blog being a tool for attention. When you work on your blog, you carefully craft posts, you spend time sharing those posts to social media, you spend time building your audience. All of that effort is going towards capturing attention, earning attention. And then to make money from your blog, you're looking for ways to monetize that attention. And one of those possible ways is to sell ads on your site. But like Danny says, that's really approaching the lowest common denominator, and you're not really valuing, in that case, everything that you're bringing to the table. So 2 things here. First, understand that yes, clarity is important, but your clarity is going to evolve over time as you get feedback from your market. That's a natural part of the process. And second, everything that you put into earning attention, don't underestimate the value of that. Nick Usborne sums up the importance of clarity like this. The blogging functionality is going to help you reach your audience and grow your audience. The blog is not the end, it's the means to an end. So one of the things that it's important to understand, to have some clarity about as you begin, is who is the audience that you are trying to reach. All right, so let's take a look at some different blog homepages and just see how they convey clarity about what they do, who they serve, and who they are quickly and efficiently. Up first, we have Yarrow Stark's blog. You can see right away that it is a blog. And right under that it says, scroll down to find my most popular content to help you build a laptop lifestyle business. So Yarrow conveys a lot of information, a lot of clarity, and just a little bit of space. And you have to have clarity to do that. We can see right away what this is. This is a blog. We can see right away who is talking to us. We have a lovely picture of Yarrow right there smiling at us. And we know right away who this is for. This is for people who want to build a laptop lifestyle business. So it takes time to find this kind of clarity, but once you do, it often is, or at least appears, fairly simple to express it. Here we have the homepage of Emma Johnson's blog. We can see right away that this is Emma Johnson talking to us, and I love her headline, Date, Parent, and Make Money Like a Mother. So that headline tells you very quickly who this is for. This is for mothers. It tells you quite a bit about Emma and her quick wit and the way that she approaches things. And you can see right away what the blog is about. It's about helping mothers do things like make money and parent and date, which signals to us right away that this is for single moms. Down below, she goes into more detail. Hello, I'm Emma Johnson, a professional single mom like you. My goal is to help you build a full, awesome life as a single mom. I've helped millions of mamas with career, money, business, parenting, feminism, dating, sex, success, love, and relationships advice. You are not in this alone. So in those two little paragraphs, Emma conveys a lot of information. She tells quite a bit about herself, but it's all framed in how it's going to help the reader to succeed. Here we have Carol Bryant's blog, Phytos of Reality. Our little tagline there, My Heart Beats Dog. A health, wellness, lifestyle dog blog for Cocker Spaniels and their canine friends. Now again, there's a lot of clarity just right there in the masthead. With My Heart Beats Dog, we know that this is for dog lovers. We know right away it's about health, wellness, and lifestyle for dogs. We can see that it's a little bit fun because it's not actually for dog owners, it's for the dogs themselves. And we know it's focused on Cocker Spaniels, for the most part, but their canine friends are welcome too. Now, this is a blog called The Full Helping, and it takes a slightly different approach. We don't have a traditional masthead up there. It just dives right into what the most recent post is on the homepage. In this case, when I took this screenshot, it was of weekend reading, and there's a little excerpt for the blog. Those of you who've been reading for a while might remember that 2017 was the year of bread baking around here. It all started when my friend Allie published her wonderful cookbook, Bread, Toast, Crumbs. I'd wanted to get serious about homemade bread baking for a long time, but everything I'd read until that point made my eyes glaze over. It was all so technical and intimidating. Allie's peasant bread technique, which involves no kneading and almost no dirtying of... And then you can continue reading that particular blog post. Where we see clarity on this blog is up in the right-hand corner. We see a picture of the blog owner, Gina, and she says, welcome. Hi, I'm Gina, voice of The Full Helping, certified nutritionist and RD-to-be, cookbook author, and passionate vegan food educator. This space is where I share nourishing plant-based recipes, reflections on mindfulness and self-care, and resources to help you explore an informed and compassionate relationship with food. So that tells us what this blog is about, having a better relationship with our food. It tells us who is talking to us and why she is qualified. And as a reader of this blog, if you read that and think, yes, this is something that I need, that just shows she has clarity about her audience as well. Here is another popular blog called Modern Mrs. Darcy. And you can see pretty much just from the menu along the top here what this blog is all about. We have book club, ebook deals, podcasts, and reading guides. Plus the most recent post shown right there, the summer reading guide is coming. And if you're an avid reader, and you're familiar with Jane Austen at all, you know that the Modern Mrs. Darcy is a reference to Pride and Prejudice. So this is a blog about reading for readers from a reader. All right, so now it is your turn. We've been talking all about clarity. Clarity about who your audience is, clarity about what you want to achieve with your blog, and clarity about who you are and what you bring to the equation. So now it's your turn to figure out that clarity. So some questions I want you to start thinking about and mulling over. Questions to ask about your audience. Who do you want to serve? How do you want to help them change? What brings them looking for you? And then some questions about your goals for your blog. What are your personal goals for the blog? What does success look like to you? And what does your blog look like a year from now, 2 years, 5 years? And then don't forget about you. What is your unique take on your topic? How would you describe your voice? And what role do you want to fill for your audience? So your assignment, and this is hands-on homework, so make sure you do it, is to take each of those 9 questions, set a timer, and for each question spend 15 minutes just writing nonstop, uncensored stream of consciousness thoughts about the answer to that question. And then after you do all of that, you're going to have a whole lot of information, and I want you to distill that down into a single sentence that summarizes your point of clarity as you start. I want you to sum up what you do, who you do it for, and what you bring to the table that's unique. All right, so that wraps up laying a strong foundation. At this point, you know what a powerful tool blogging is. You know what an exciting time it is to become a blogger. You have a really good idea about what topic that you want to write about, and you have clarity about how you want to approach that topic. So up next, we're going to dive into part 2, getting ready to launch your blog. I'll talk to you again soon.
Hi, this is Jim Wright, and welcome back to the Build Your Freelance Website in 4 Days webinar series. We are working through day 3, your technical decisions, and this is related to the technical choices you're going to have to make as part of the program. And in this video, video 5, or part 5, we're going to be looking at the themes, but this time we're actually going to take a look at them and talk a little bit about design as well. Again, what I want to do in this video is kind of pick up where we left off in the previous video when we were talking about themes. And again, if you'll remember, the theme kind of dictates the look of the site, where things are going to be, where certain elements are going to be. It kind of controls the overall look and feel of what people are going to see when they come to your website. Much the same way that you could wear a different shirt or a different vest, and the pockets might be on the right-hand side on one vest and might be on the left-hand side in the other. The theme kind of controls the look, but I wanted to take an extra step and kind of look at some different themes so you could see for yourself what the differences are and the different types of things you can do all within a WordPress theme. So what I've got here is five or six examples here of different sites. Every single one of these sites is a WordPress site. The only difference is the theme. So this first one is an example from one of my hobby sites, Learn Electronics Online. It's getting a little dated at this point. It's a fairly traditional type of older website where you have the navigation at the top, you've got the sidebar on the right. Again, nothing fancy, but it works. And I think this theme is actually Pro Framework, which is the theme that Thomas had before he developed GeneratePress. This next site, again, also a WordPress website. You may recognize Steve there, Steve Maurer. This is his Steve Maurer freelance copywriting site. Again, fairly traditional. You've got the navigation there. You've got the 2 or 3 columns with the blog posts. You know, in the top right, you've got the social media icons and some text there. And now we go to something completely different. A lot of bright colors, different navigation across the top, social media icons. Again, totally different, but the same. Different theme, but this is still built on WordPress. And again, here's a different example. Again, built on WordPress, but using a different theme and styled differently to look differently. So you can kind of get the idea here that you do have a lot of control over how your site looks. Even though all of these sites are on WordPress, this one may be familiar to you as well. This is a Wealthy Web Writer site. And one final example here. Again, this is an education website. This is a membership site because you can see the sign in register at the top right there. Again, that just needs a different WordPress plugin to give that functionality. Again, we will be talking about plugins in day 4. But the reason I wanted to show you these 6 examples is you can tell by looking at them that they're completely different. The navigation's in different spots, you know, the layout is different, and that's all controlled by the theme because all of these websites have different themes, but they're all built on WordPress. So again, I just wanted to, after spending time in the last video talking about themes, I just wanted to show you some different examples and see what you can do and see what's possible. The other thing I wanted to do is give you a tip here too, because although I do work with WordPress, I'm not a graphic designer. So what I do when I'm trying to come up with a design for something is I will go out on the web and do just what I've done here, pick up a few different examples of different sites, and I might say, I like the colors here. I like the way he's got 3 columns here. I really like the way they have the social media icons in the top right here in the little circles. But I really like the open space of this. And I will take a look at different websites that I like and different things. So I may like the navigation from one website. I may like the columns on another site. I might like the way one of the sites does their social media icons, and I will actually take notes of different things. You could even take screenshots if you like and cut out the different components and kind of build your own site on paper. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. I find for me that's very helpful to go and look at many different sites and see what I like. Years ago, I worked with a client and I did the same thing. She was a florist, and I told her to go on the web and look at sites of florists that she really liked, and I asked her to pick 5 sites and tell me why she had picked those and what she liked about each one of them. And then we incorporated a lot of those elements in her final design, and her design ended up being kind of like a greatest hits of all the other sites she had looked at and really liked. So again, just a quick example to show you the different things that you can do with different themes, all built on WordPress. And just before we go, some design best practices. Limit the major color choices to 2. That doesn't mean your site won't work if it's got 3, but generally you want to keep things as consistent as possible. Use dark text on a white background for large amounts of text. So for example, that doesn't mean you can't have white text in a little blue box somewhere on your site, but for the majority of the content, you want a dark text on a white background. And you want to keep the layout and design as simple as possible. Keep a little bit of white space around. And the one thing you really want to do is have a custom logo designed. And there are many options to do that. I'll share a few with you in a second. But the reason you want a nice custom logo design is when people come to your site, they're going to make a very quick decision on whether they're in the right place or not. One of the things your homepage does is act as the director of first impressions. So when people see your site, they kind of make a first judgment in a split second. So you want something that's professional, that really puts your best face forward. As far as where you can get a custom logo design, here are some options from most to least expensive. So 99 Designs is probably the most expensive out of these. You could pay a few $100s for a nice logo. Upwork is somewhere in the middle. You can put a design brief on Upwork and people will bid on it. And then at the lower end, there's Fiverr.com. But I know people who've gotten work done on Fiverr.com and we're very, very happy with it. Now, we do have someone we recommend, and you'll find that information on your member page for this course, is Kristen Schwartz. And she's done some fantastic work for many of our members as well, so I would invite you to check her out as well. And that's it for this video. I just wanted to spend some more time to show you different examples of themes, talk a little bit about design, how you can kind of come up with your own design by getting ideas from many different designs. Again, the idea is not to copy or swipe stuff from different things, but just looking at different parts of sites and things that you like and desire and kind of bring them all together. And with that, we're getting close to the end of day 3. This has been video 5. There's one more left, video 6, where we'll talk about some future considerations and things you might want to look at, and then we'll take a peek ahead to day 4 and what is waiting for you there. I'll see you in the next video.
Hello, and welcome to Lesson 3 of Part 2 of How to Write Blogs for Yourself and for Clients, a step-by-step guide to blogging success. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about how to generate a never-ending stream of ideas for your blog. Now, I know from talking to a lot of different writers thinking about having a blog that this is something that does tend to present an obstacle. The concern is, what if I start writing a blog and after a couple of months, I'm just completely out of ideas? What do I do then? Well, the whole point of this lesson is to make sure that that never happens to you. I'm Heather Robson, your guide for this program, and let's get started with Part 2, Lesson 3, a never-ending stream of ideas. So at this point in the program, we've worked through lessons to help you determine what you're trying to achieve with your blog. You should know who you're writing to, who your audience is. You also probably have a good idea at this point how often you'll publish on your blog, at least at the beginning. You have some thoughts on what types of formats you'll use for your posts and the length that they'll be. And you know the broad topic that you want to cover. But the one big nagging question that we haven't answered yet is, how do you keep the ideas coming? So the first thing that I want to underscore is that in any given topic, there are probably more subtopics, and then even more subtopics within those subtopics than you've probably considered or imagined at this point. And to underscore that point, I just want to take a look at some of the headlines on some of our experts' blogs. So here from Nick Usborne's Copy Detective, 4 of his recent topics include Beanbox Coffee Subscription Service and Review of Herkimer Coffee, the Trade Coffee Subscription Service for Coffee Lovers, Why Shade-Grown Coffee is Key to Sustainability, and with coffee prices high, how can you save money without cutting back? So the thing to note about all these posts is that they were published close to each other, in proximity to each other date-wise. So we see 2 separate product reviews. We see a post on shade-grown coffee and sustainability and the ecology. And then we see a post on fitting coffee into a budget. These 4 posts are all different. Reviews of products, discussions of sustainability, talks about buying coffee without spending too much money, but they all fit within the broad topic. Up next, let's look at some of the topics published on Miracy's blog within a month's time span of each other. First up, we have How to Choose the Best Online Course Platform, 5 Steps to Find the Ideal Tool. After that, Customer Profile Template, Finding Your One Person. We also have Inside Our Most Ambitious Program for Entrepreneurs Who Want to Grow Their Business. And then the Ultimate List of Digital Product Ideas That Sell. Now keep in mind, Miracy is a blog targeted at entrepreneurs and marketers. It provides tools and advice for doing better digital marketing. And here we see a wide array of topics, but they all fit under that broader umbrella. Finally, let's take a look at a few of the posts on Making Sense of Sense, Michelle Schroeder-Gardner's blog. Now, one of the things that Michelle has been able to do because of her blogging success is she's currently living on a boat. So one of her topics is living on a boat, the good, the bad, and the beautiful. Michelle's blog is very much geared toward building a lifestyle that you want with the freedom that you want by making your income either through a blog or through other online methods. So here she has how to make $1,000 extra with Facebook each month. And then finally, 30 money and life lessons I've learned in the first 30 years of my life. So each of these posts is very, very different. We have living on a boat, we have earning an extra $1,000 a month, we have life lessons. But because Michelle knows her audience as well as she does, she knows that each of these posts has appeal to her readers. And so based on that, they all fit well within her blog. So as we delve into different ways that you can come up with ideas to cover your topic, I want you to keep this in mind. You can cover the same topic more than once. You can look at the same topic from many different angles. But not only that, as time passes, you can cover the same topic again, even from a similar angle. You'll have new members of your audience who may have missed the previous time you covered that topic and will enjoy seeing your coverage of it from their point of view for the first time. And it's also possible that people within your existing audience may have missed the first time you covered the topic, or they may just be ready for a refresher. All right, so I'm going to give you 7 different ways that you can generate ideas. And I promise you that if you use 1, 2, 3, or all 7 of these, you will have notebooks full of ideas, and you'll never be at a loss for what to write. So our first idea generator number 1, is the simple brainstorm. So to demonstrate this, I picked a topic that I enjoy, chocolate. And I just started thinking about what might I write about chocolate. Some of the things I came up with: the history of chocolate, milk chocolate versus dark chocolate versus white chocolate. Is white chocolate even chocolate? How to make a flourless chocolate cake. What are the health benefits of chocolate? A recipe for making drinking chocolate at home. Maybe a roundup article of all the different chocolate cocktails. Ideas for designing the perfect chocolate gift basket. The history of hollow Easter bunnies. How do they make those hollow Easter bunnies, and why? And then some of the most popular top brand chocolates, Ghirardelli versus Lindt. What are the pros and cons of each? If I were to put them in a side-by-side taste test, what would I think? So there, just through brainstorming, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ideas that I could write blog posts about for a blog that is focused on chocolate, or maybe chocolate along with a few other things. Idea generator number 2 stems from the brainstorm that you've done. Here you pick one of your ideas and you drill down further. So in this case, I chose the Ghirardelli versus Lindt chocolate review. And as I did a little bit of research on each, I came up with some additional topics that I might add to my blog. One was things to do in Ghirardelli Square. Ghirardelli Square is an area in San Francisco where the Ghirardelli factory headquarters is located, and there are all sorts of things to do there. Another idea is a review of Lindt truffle flavors. Now, Lindt makes lots of different flavors of truffles, and so you could have a roundup article talking about each one and the subtleties of the flavors and how they stack up against each other, making the perfect batch of Ghirardelli brownies. Ghirardelli does sell pre-made brownie mix, so you could talk about adjustments to the recipe on the box to make those brownies truly perfect, or you could come up with a scratch recipe using Ghirardelli ingredients. Pairing different Lindt bars with different beverages. So how does a Lindt dark chocolate orange bar pair up with wine? Do you want a red wine or a white wine with that? Or would a beer be better? Or maybe a whiskey? And then you could also do a taste comparison of Lindt's dark chocolate bars or Ghirardelli's chocolate squares. So for this one, you pick an idea from your brainstorm list and see how many additional ideas on that narrower topic you can come up with. All right, idea generator number 3 is a really important one, doing keyword research. The reason this is important is because you are looking for phrases related to your topic that people are already looking for online. So when I went on and did a search for chocolate and some different chocolate-related phrases, I came up with things like what makes a truffle, how to make the perfect chocolate caramel apple, chocolate dipped strawberries for a light sweet treat, who ships the best chocolate pie, what makes poor quality chocolate have that aftertaste, the top 5 chocolate novelty gifts, the best keto chocolate recipes, chocolate jobs. What kind of jobs are there in the chocolate industry? That's kind of a left field topic that still fits under our umbrella. Wine and chocolate, to your good health. So now for each of these aren't the keywords that came up. I didn't put in truffle and have my keyword search tool say what makes a truffle. But I did find when I was searching for chocolate that one of the things that people are looking for is truffles. And so then I started thinking, okay, what would people maybe want to know about truffles? And so one of the ideas I came up with based on that was what makes a truffle a truffle. So I know you might be wondering at this point, what kind of keyword research tools are there out there available to me? There are some really good paid keyword research tools. BuzzSumo is one, SEMrush is one, WordTracker is one as well. But you don't have to pay for a tool, at least not to start. Once your blog's starting to take off, I do recommend that you invest in a keyword research tool. But to start out, you could try Ubersuggest. This is a tool created by Neil Patel and provides some very useful information. There's a free tool and a paid tool, but the free tool is very useful. You could try a tool called Answer the Public. That's just answerthepublic.com. This is a very useful keyword research tool that does have a nice, robust, free version. And you could also try SERPstat, SERPstat.com, which also has a nice, free keyword research tool. BuzzSumo is an excellent tool because it looks at what is trending in content. So it's not researching the keywords so much, but it gives you some wonderful insights into what kind of content on your topic people are getting excited about, people are sharing. SEMrush is a very robust keyword research tool. It does offer you some free data, but if you pay for that, you'll get way more data. And then WordTracker is kind of a standby keyword research tool to check out. The fourth idea generator that I recommend is that you use days, weeks, and months for inspiration. Now, what I mean by this is every day has multiple things that it is officially recognized for. The same is true for every week and for every month as well. And you can look for days and months and weeks that tie in well to your topic. So in keeping with our chocolate example, I picked the month of November. And November 1st is National Cook for Your Pets Day. So I thought for our chocolate blog, we might talk about why chocolate is so bad for dogs. November 3rd is National Sandwich Day, and here I thought, hey, what if we talked about 3 recipes for tasty grilled chocolate sandwiches? And if you have never had a grilled dessert sandwich, man, you are missing out. November 4th is National Candy Day. I mean, that's just a no-brainer, right? So we could talk about America's favorite chocolate candy treats. I'm not even through the first week yet. November 5th is National Donuts Day. The very best chocolate donut in 10 different cities. That sounds like a blog post that has a pretty good shot of going viral. And then in November, there's National Geography Week. So we could do a blog post on where does your chocolate come from and why does that matter? And then another week in November is National Book Award Week. So in that case, we could do a blog post on a review of chocolate-related books. Now, using idea generator number 4, days and weeks and months, I've come up right off the bat with 6 ideas that will feel right at home in my blog on chocolate. Your fellow bloggers are an excellent source of ideas, which is why I've listed them as idea generator number 5. So to give you an example of how this works, I was just surfing around on different food websites, particularly those focused on dessert, and I found a blog post on why mint chocolate chip ice cream is so terrible. So hey, I mean, there's chocolate right in the headline there, right? So that's related to my blog, my chocolate blog. So I started riffing on mint chocolate chip ice cream. And 5 ideas that I came up with from that single blog post that another blogger had written, but that really had nothing to do with that blog post other than the mint chocolate chip theme, were a review of top brand name mint chocolate chip ice creams, how to make homemade mint chocolate chip ice cream that rocks, why mint chocolate chip ice cream is green, the best mint chocolate pairings, and a photo journal of local mint chocolate chip ice cream offerings. Idea generator number 6 is really my favorite idea generator, and that's to draw from your experiences. There are really a couple of reasons that this is my favorite way to generate ideas. The first and foremost is that it makes you unique. Nobody has the exact same experiences that you do, and they certainly don't have your same perspective on those experiences. So going out and trying new things and talking about them in your blog really adds an element of uniqueness and interest to what you're saying to your audience. The other reason I really love this way of generating ideas is that it's just fun. You get to go out and you get to do new things, and then you get to tie them into what you're talking about with your audience. So there are really 2 ways that this can work. The first thing that you can do is go out and deliberately try something that has to do specifically with your blog topic. So for the example that we're using, this chocolate blog, I might go out into my hometown and find 3 boutique chocolatiers and review their offerings. Or I might reach out to one of those boutique chocolatiers and ask them if they could do an interview with me and talk about the history and how they came to open their chocolate shop. So that's one way. But another thing that you can do is look for ways to tie in unrelated activities to your blog. So in that case, you're creating analogies to illustrate something to your audience in a fresh new way. And those things can really resonate and stick with your audience. And they're a lot of fun and kind of challenging to write. So this idea generator, number 6, is an excellent way to just add personality and freshness and color to your blog. I've saved the most important idea generator for last. Idea generator number 7 is your readers. So as you blog and your audience grows, you're going to start getting feedback from the people who are following you. They're going to comment on your blog posts. They're going to email you questions. They're going to start conversations with you on social media. And those conversations, those questions, those comments are all going to be excellent sources for ideas for future blog posts. And the best part of it is, you know it's something that your reader is interested in because your reader's the one giving you the idea. Now, of course, I asked our expert bloggers on their thoughts about generating ideas. John Morrow said, one of the things I talk about is what we call the zone of magic, which is if you imagine 2 overlapping circles, one of those circles is what you have to give. The other overlapping circle is what people are interested in. So it's the overlap between those 2 circles that you really find your sweet spot. Now, we talked before about this quote from John Morrow in terms of picking the broad topic of your blog. But this quote also applies when you're picking the topics for your posts. You want to think about what you have to give that your readers are really interested in and clamoring for, and that's going to be the sweet spot that's going to help you get the most traction with your blog at the fastest rate. When I asked Carol Bryant about ideas, she said, "Write what you know" is often a mantra that floats around. While that is true, you must also love what you write. Imagine what you'd want to talk about every day when your feet hit the floor. For me, that's dog health, with a primary focus on Cocker Spaniels. Your blog posts are going to be at their best when you are excited about what you're writing about. So when you sit down to write, what may be on your mind, what you're excited about, might be answering a question from a reader. Or it could be writing a post about an experience that you had recently, or maybe you're inspired by some keyword research. But pay attention to the ideas that get you excited. Those are going to be the ones where you really shine. When asked about coming up with ideas, Yarrow said, "I would probably tell people to do audience research." But back then it started as a hobby. I didn't even think of myself as a person who likes to write up until that point. My blog started essentially as a place to tell stories about my business. It was a fun experiment, and I guess you could say the only research I'd done was living 7 years being an entrepreneur, having the understanding of what I was trying to achieve. The hard parts, the easy parts, the fun things, the goals, aspirations. So Yarrow makes a good point here that sometimes your blog is just going to be focused on telling the stories that you have to tell. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of times those stories demonstrate learning experiences that you have had that others are looking to benefit from. And people are hardwired to enjoy stories. So sharing your stories is a good way to help your audience get to know you. It's a good way to convey valuable information. And it's a good way to keep your readers coming back for more. Okay, so I hope that you are brimming over with ideas at this point, or at least feel like you're brimming over with ideas about coming up with ideas. Next up, we're going to have our final lesson in part 2. We're going to talk about setting up an editorial calendar so that you always have a plan for what to write next.
Hi there, it's Mindy back to welcome you to today's video lesson, which continues the very important conversation in this lesson about accessibility. So in light of that, I've picked a shirt that I think does a good job of demonstrating our goal here. Check it out. The comma says to the question mark, wait, and the question mark says, what? All right, cheesy shirts aside, the point is that we do not want our readers asking themselves the same question. Wait, what? Particularly if we're writing to someone who has a disability that has not been accounted for. So in today's lesson, we'll take a look at the different ways to copy edit, not just for accessibility, but really for the people, the humans for whom these accessibility practices are meant to accommodate. So let's jump to the screen. Okay, so here we have on my screen, I have cut and pasted an article that I wrote several years ago called How 3 a.m. Television Can Make You a Better, More Successful Copywriter. And right here, right off, we have this great photo of these very happy people. Anybody looking at the photo would think, okay, they must be watching TV. The lady's got popcorn, the guy is sipping tea or coffee, maybe hot cocoa. But you as the copy editor, if you were given this piece of copy to edit and it came to you just like this, you'd look at the photo and you'd think there is no alt text. And like we just learned in the lesson, the purpose of alt text is so a screen reader can read a description of the photo or the image on the screen, so somebody who is visually impaired will know what type of graphic or image is included with the copy. Now there are two ways that you can approach this. If you're using Microsoft Word, you can actually right-click on the photo itself. See if this does it for me. Okay, and then a menu comes up. And the third one from the bottom actually says Edit Alt Text. So over here you see this little window. Let me see if I can make it bigger for you. It says Alt Text, and it asks you right here, how would you describe this object in its context to someone who is blind or low vision? And they give you suggestions, even the subjects in detail, the setting, the actions. There actually is an alt text description that's already embedded with this photo. So as the copy editor, I can double check this description. It says 2 smiling people with drink and snack sitting together on couch watching television. Okay, and that does basically capture what the photo is saying. However, there's one other tip I want to give you. I'm going to go ahead and copy that description. The other thing you can do, the problem is it's not a given that somebody who takes this copy after it's edited and then moves it to web formatting, or even just uploads it or ships it off to whatever designer team is supposed to be handling it, it's not a given that they are going to see or know to spot the alt text that's embedded in the photo. So what I recommend all copy editors do is to add a little note here under the photo and just use brackets, and we're going to say insert alt text, and then I'm going to cut and paste what that alt text was. I'm going to close it with brackets, and then I'm going to set it off in a different color. So in this case it's going to be red. So this means that when it is completely finished and it goes to the editor or it goes to the web designer, they have that visual. They see right there, I have made sure there's alt text, I've copy edited it, it's appropriate, and I want you to include it. Sometimes if you have an ongoing working relationship with an editor and a designer, they'll know to check the embedded alt text, but you can't assume it, and it's really important that you keep that in there. So I think it's worth putting in the additional text. Just make sure that you make it stand out with a different color and with brackets. Okay, so other things that you want to do when you are copy editing for accessibility is to make sure all the copy has clear, simple, and plain language so that people with dyslexia are able to grasp it. And so I tucked a funny sentence in here. So basically the point of this article is that watching late night TV can actually have you end up watching infomercials, and infomercials are a great educational ground for copywriting. So this just talks about the infomercials for the Easy Craft Deluxe Bow Maker, for the Thigh Master, for some things that really excelled at selling via infomercial over their time. Anyway, let's look at this paragraph right here. It says, for millions of women in the 1990s, it was the Thigh Master brought to life by Suzanne Summers. It wasn't something people didn't go crazy for. They definitely weren't passive. Ugh, doesn't that sentence just make you cringe, right? We've got double negatives, we've got things going this way and that way, and if somebody has dyslexia, or even if somebody is read that by a screen reader because they have visual impairment, I would be confused. If I heard that, I would have to go back and think, wait, but if they were crazy and they didn't, so this is definitely a place that needs a good copy editor to jump in. So let's make sure that we have track changes on. We're going to go up to the review button, click on track changes. Okay, what can we do to fix this? It wasn't something people didn't go crazy for. They definitely weren't passive. You know, let's just suggest, how about it wasn't something people were passive about. In fact, they went crazy. All right, let's go with that. We've canceled out those double negatives, and it's a lot more direct. But I would still put my tactful comment over here to the writer. New comment. Let's see. This sentence appeared to have quite a few double negatives and could be confusing to someone with dyslexia. You know, go ahead and explain to the writer that you are also designing this in a way that is accessible to all people. So we're just going to say reworded for clarity. Okay? And we can add a couple other suggestions on how we want to reword it or how we might suggest the writer rewords it. But for this example, we're just going to go ahead and ship that comment off. Okay, so we've talked about adding the alt text. We've talked about editing for clear, simple, plain language. The other thing that you want to look at is copy that includes links that are clear when a text reader reads it. So basically a text reader is exactly like it sounds. It's for somebody who has visual impairment and they need a screen reader to read the copy to them. Now look at this last paragraph, because usually it's the call to action that's in the last paragraph, right? Or the link. It says, in the meantime, If you ever find yourself wide-eyed in the middle of the night, power up your screen and watch an infomercial or two. Think of it as continuing education for the direct response copywriting world, or find out how you can learn these secrets without sitting in front of the tube. Okay, so what that actually means is that this is where our link would be, right? So let's pretend that this is the hyperlink. If you are not visually impaired and you're able to see that this is underlined and it's set off in blue, then you're going to know, oh, okay, I can click that and that's where I can find out how I can learn these secrets without sitting in front of the tube. But what do you do if you can't actually see it and a screen reader just says, think of it as continuing education for the direct response copywriting world, or find out how you can learn these secrets without learning in front of the tube? Then you're kind of left hanging, right? So it's very simple to edit for this, or click here to find out how you can learn these secrets without sitting in front of the tube. Then you have a direct action that connects to the knowledge this sentence is conveying, okay? The other thing, this is more of a design issue, but you do want to make sure that links are set off with different colors. You might have noticed in some websites people get very artsy, and color is a great thing, but let's say somebody thinks that this link should be, let's go with a dark blue, right? A little bit harder to see, so somebody who has trouble seeing different colors is going to struggle with that. Maybe they'll see the underline, but there are plenty of links online that are no longer underlined. They're just set off with a different color, so always look for a contrast. And then here's one last cool thing if you're using Microsoft Word. Now, I hope you can see this. Let me get my little pin. Down here, there is a little tiny button that says Accessibility Investigate, which is a cool feature here for Microsoft Word. It actually does have a few tools that go through and check your copy for accessibility issues. So all you have to do, if you have this enabled, is come down here and click on that. Maybe double click on that. Maybe triple click on that. Aha! There we go. I don't think I double clicked right on the link. So this brings over this menu up here. It says Accessibility Inspection Results. We have hard to read text contrast. Oh, and you know what it's talking about? It's talking about this link down here where I have blue copy with a pink background. Now, the reason that that is designed in that way is just because the client that I'm working with, often the clients that I work with, use highlights to designate where links will go in the copy once they are uploaded to an email system or to a website, and those won't be the final colors. But if you aren't sure about that as the copy editor, then you're going to want to highlight that. Just make a little comment when you are, again, looking at this for accessibility, and just say something like, I just want to make sure these aren't the final colors that will show online. Hard to read for accessibility. Okay? So that way I've communicated, maybe there's a reason they did it like that, maybe that's standard, but I've also brought it to their attention. Now the other thing you can see is if I go ahead and change that color to, let's just go with a yellow highlight, then we've got blue on yellow. Down here, let me close that window. Oh, I think I have that somewhere else in the document. But if I didn't, then it would say accessibility, no new issues. So that concludes the basics of what you want to look for when you are copy editing a document for accessibility. It's really quite simple. It's just a matter of remembering to go through and look for alt text on images, clear and simple language, links that verbally convey they are supposed to be clicked, and distinction between colors that are highlighted with a specific background and a specific font color. All right, thank you. I will see you in the next lesson.
The sales letter you write generates cash flow for your client. If you write one of these letters that becomes the control, you can make a lot of money. And if you get a piece of the action, a royalty, you can make even more. Here's a quick story of how it all works. You're a direct marketing publisher, and you've decided to sell a book about losing weight by eating peanuts. You hire 2 copywriters, Mutt and Jeff. Each writes a different sales letter. You mail both of them at the cost of $10,000 each. Mutt's letter results in $5,000 worth of sales. Jeff's letter brings home the bacon to the tune of $25,000. So, what do? You thank Mutt for his time and toss his sales letter in the wastebasket. Then you congratulate Jeff on his winning control and you mail it again. You mail it to 250,000 names this time, and it brings in $100,000 in profits. Then you mail it again to 1,000,000 names and bring in another $300,000. Now you want to sell a book on the marshmallow diet. Your old pal Mutt gives you a call. Can he write for you again? Sorry, you say, not interested. But Jeff has made you over $400,000 from his letter, so naturally you call him. He's flattered you called and advises, my fee for our next project will be $8,000 plus royalties. So, what do? Tell him to shove off? Argue with him? Of course not. You pat him on the back and pay him what he's asking because you really, really want him to write this next letter for you. And you are hoping for the same exact result.
All right, perfect. Well, welcome everyone to this bonus training on how to build email lists, the fastest, easiest, and most profitable way to get more traffic, more prospects, and more sales. Of course, my name is Brian Edmondson, and I've been your presenter through this whole program. So I'm thrilled to have everybody here for this bonus training where I'm going to give you some additional insights, some additional tips, and we'll also take some questions that you may have as you go through the program. So first, again, I just want to congratulate everyone who made the wise decision to invest in this program. I may be biased, but I truly believe that mastering list building and email marketing is the most profitable thing you can do in your business. So I really hope that you take action on this information, implement it into your business, and I'm looking forward to hearing success stories as you begin to achieve new levels of growth in your business. So with that said, again, this is the bonus webinar / Q&A, and today I'm going to go through and share with you some of the key points from each of the modules, some key takeaways. As I mentioned, I'll be sharing some bonus tips, and then we'll be taking questions. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what questions you may have as we go through this. We will be taking questions at the end, so I just want to go through a quick recap of the modules, the key takeaways, bonus tips, and then we'll open it up for any Q&A you have based on today's call or the information you've already went through in the program. Okay, so first in Module 1, the power of list building, I just want to recall these statistics I shared originally in the program. You probably remember me talking about how email marketing is 6 times more likely to get a click than a tweet. That came from Campaign Monitor. We talked about how email is up to 40 times, 40x more effective than Facebook and Twitter at landing new clients. And ultimately, I think that's what we're all here for. We want to get new clients. Email marketing has the highest conversion rate when it comes to purchasing. That comes from the Direct Marketing Association. And that email returns $44 for every dollar spent, a massive 4,400% return on investment. So those were some of the stats I originally shared. And what I thought was interesting is over the holiday season, some stats were released that just continue to confirm that, you know, in this day and age of social media and chatbots and all the bright, shiny objects and all the cutting edge stuff, that really where it all started, email marketing really is still king. So these are statistics that came from Shopify, which is a major e-commerce platform. And these are from the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and they analyzed over $1.5 billion in sales that were conducted, I believe, over several thousand merchants. And so that is a source, Shopify. And so Black Friday, Cyber Monday refers by conversion rate, average order conversion rate by source. And if we look at this, we can clearly see that email marketing was the number one source for conversions, responsible for those $1.5 billion in sales, which was more than double that of social. And of course, we know right now, social media is what's hot. Everybody's talking about social media. That's the new kid on the block, so to speak. But compared to what many people might think is old or outdated, or, does this even work anymore? Well, the proof is in the statistics right there. So you definitely made a wise choice in deciding that you want to learn how to implement list building and email marketing into your business. So I thought that was an interesting statistic and a great update just to reinforce what we've already been really advocating this whole time. So the big takeaway from Module 1 was just to recognize that list building and email marketing is still the number one most financially valuable skill you can master in your business. And my wish for everybody is that you make a commitment that you will implement list building and email marketing into your business. Absolutely, absolutely take action. I can't speak for everyone on this call, but I do know myself, I love consuming information. I love learning the latest tricks, and I probably have tons of courses and programs that I've invested in that maybe I haven't even gone through yet. And in some cases, I have gone through them yet, but I haven't yet implemented. So please, absolutely, don't let this powerful information go to waste. Implement it into your business. So that was the big takeaway from Module 1. Module 2, we discussed multiple streams of subscribers. And in this module, we really covered a whole plethora, multiple methods of building an email list. If you recall, we talked about squeeze pages, opt-in forms, sliders, pop-ups, just to name a few. We discussed the strategy of possibly having multiple free offers, even free offers that were specific to every single blog post that you make. We talked about free reports, content upgrades, etc. So one thing I realized is if you're just getting started with the list building, a lot of this could actually seem overwhelming. And a lot of times we know when we're faced with so many options and just so much information, we become paralyzed and we don't take action on any of the information. So what I wanted to emphasize here is basically the no overwhelm quick start. And if I were to do anything, just a couple things from what we talked about, of all those methods I talked about, I would say start with just one free offer. So for many, I know the idea of when I was even going into actually creating a free offer for each specific post on a website, even if you have, say, just 5 posts, 10 posts, 100 posts, that can seem completely undoable. Really, you can start with just one free offer. The reality is, in my business, for close to 15 years almost, I've only had one free offer, and that's done very well for me. It's only this year that I started going into the advanced strategy, and I'm starting to create more post-specific free offers. So trust me, you don't need to have multiple free offers. That's a route you may want to go eventually. It actually took me 15 years to make that decision. So rest assured, one powerful free offer is all you need to successfully build your list. So that's no overwhelm, quick start, point number one. Second thing is, we talked about multiple placements for the free offer on your home page, on your other pages, doing content upgrades on your blog post, maybe having a pop-up when someone comes to your website. So we talked about all the multiple ways you can have a free offer. The fastest way to get started is really just one, or I'd recommend two locations, as you can see. The most trafficked page on your website is going to be your home page, so absolutely put your free offer on your home page. And I would go one step further and say, for those of us who have a blog, it's probably going to be a template-based blog where if you just put the free offer on, say, the sidebar of your blog, that will automatically populate your free offer to every single page of your blog post. So that is an easy secondary place you can place the free offer. So if someone comes on your homepage, or if they land on any of your blog pages, they see the free offer, they have the opportunity to opt in, and it's only one free offer that we're showing across all of the same blog post. And then as far as the tools go, I'll talk a little bit more about this in the Module 3 section, because that's where we really got into the tools. But you only need one tool, and that's a third-party email autoresponder. So when we were looking, and we'll talk more about this in a moment, but we were looking at, squeeze page tools, landing page tools, pop-up tools, but you only need one tool to get started. And again, I actually used only one tool for many, many years in my business before I started adding more advanced tools. So grabbing a third-party email autoresponder is all you need. And quite literally, you can build or add an additional 6 figures to your business. And I even know people who keep things so ultra simple that there are a few of them, but I know a few people who have 7-figure businesses where they literally have one free offer and just an email autoresponder to capture the leads. So that is the no overwhelm quick start. And if you do just that, if you do just those things, you're going to be light years ahead of what most people are doing. So that was the no overwhelm quick start. I think it was important for me to point that out because the last thing I want is everyone to become overwhelmed by all of the information, because this was a very, very comprehensive course. Okay, kind of playing on that, and I already hinted toward this, in Module 3, we took a look at the list building tools of the trade, and again, I gave several options and opportunities with that. We talked about the email marketing tools, we talked about squeeze page tools, landing page tools. If you're using a WordPress site, we talked about using different WordPress plugins. We talked about server-based tools and things of that nature. And yeah, these tools do cost money, and things can kind of add up. So again, playing off of my no overwhelm quick start, I wanted to give you my take on the low cost quick start. And as I mentioned previously, you can successfully implement list building into your business with just one tool, and that's going to be your third-party email service provider. And most of the tools run about $20 a month. So there's Aweber, there's MailChimp, GetResponse. Every week there's a new flavor of the week coming out. Any of these tools work. They all basically do the same thing. They all cost around the same amount of money. The one that I recommend is Aweber, simply because I've been using them for close to 15 years now. They're one of the probably one of the first autoresponder solutions out there, so they have a long history and a track record, and that's just the one I personally recommend. But yeah, I see some people in the chat mentioning that they use MailChimp and other tools. and that's perfectly fine. The key is, and this can't be emphasized enough, is you must absolutely use a third-party email service provider to handle the collection and ultimately the email to your list. And you can see dramatic growth in your business with just one free offer again and one simple email autoresponder service. So that's the low-cost quick start. And then as you continue to grow your business, you can certainly implement the more advanced tools we looked at, such as landing page tools, other tools that do advanced things like the slide-in bars and other things that we talked about, and tools that implement content upgrades and things of that nature. But again, all of that is bonus material. The no overwhelm quick start and the low cost quick start is a great place to get started, and it's what I did for close to 15 years exclusively. Okay, Module 4, we talked about powerful free reports to pre-sell your offer, and we also talked about in the previous module about other things that are working as far as like checklists, templates, and we talked about how, several years ago, the idea was to give away like a 300-page ebook. And these days with attention spans and how people want instant gratification, things of that nature were kind of going, having definitely lower response rates, and that people were looking for faster fixes and things of that nature. However, I will say that I do still really love free reports because even though they may have a slightly lower conversion rate as far as opt-in goes than a quick template, I think that they do get better quality leads, and they can definitely be used as a tool to convert a prospect into a customer rather quickly. So remember, we did talk about strategically using a free offer as basically a pre-sell that leads people into a sale of your product. I still say, I've been saying this for years, that one of the three most powerful phrases in marketing is free special report. So free special report for calling out to the target market reveals the 5 biggest mistakes and how to overcome them. So there's always going to be a trade-off, right? I was actually on a call with a coaching client, and they were talking about the idea of using quizzes to build their email list. And yeah, we do know that quizzes have a very high opt-in rate because everybody wants to take a quiz. They want to know where they stand and things of that nature. But what they found, though, is that the conversion rate from those quiz opt-ins wasn't as good. So there's always going to be a balance between, am I maximizing my leads, am I maximizing conversion, and finding what the sweet spot is. And I really think that a good, powerful free report is that sweet spot. So use free reports to educate, set the buying criteria, and pre-sell a paid offer in your business. Okay, monetizing your email marketing list, and this is what we talked about in Module 5. This one, to me, is an absolute no-brainer. You must absolutely do this. So I've given you the templates. Use the templates. It's easy to do, and you only have to do it once, and then it's completely automated forever. One bonus tip I'll mention is I don't believe I covered this. I'm combining the two. So we did talk about the soft sell signature. If you remember the soft sell signature, that was at the end of your email, maybe calling out by the way, here's some additional ways we can work together right now, and then maybe linking out specific services or products that you may be offering. So in the email templates, the templates themselves don't have the soft sell signature into them. I would actually do that. I would go ahead and add your soft sell signature into your automated 5-part series that goes out, or any automated emails that go out. What I'm really finding more and more, and this is kind of surprising to me, is even when I'm sending out emails that have my singular purpose and my main offer that I'm promoting, in many cases, I'll actually get more sales of what's being promoted in the soft sell signature than from the primary offer in the email. Who knows why that's happening, right? We can speculate. Maybe it's because they're seeing the offer over and over again, and we know that the more times somebody sees an offer, the more likely they're to take an action on it. Or maybe because it's just so non-salesy, for lack of a better term, that converts better. But yeah, we're seeing great success with those soft sell signatures. And the other thing I want to point out is, please make a commitment to send just one email a week to keep in touch with your email list. So, and email marketing is kind of like a muscle. It might be difficult at first, coming up with content, not knowing what to say, overcoming those things that we talked about as far as, am I bothering my list? Am I emailing too much? Are people going to unsubscribe? But the more you do it, just like copywriting, the more you do it, the easier it will come, the better you'll get at it, and the better results you'll get with it. And the reason I suggest just one email a week is because I believe that that's what's realistic for most people. Now, I believe we talked about this in the main course, but when we look at some of the most successful marketers in the world, we see that they definitely email more than one a week. If you're on any retail chains email list, if you're on any good marketer's email list, you probably get multiple emails a week. How many emails a week do you get from AWAI, right? So, but I know if I came out and said, well, you should email your list every day, Monday through Friday, and maybe send a weekend roundup on Saturday, and then send a what's ahead in the week on a Sunday, most people can't keep up with that pace, and thus they wouldn't do anything. I think one email a week is a very reasonable schedule. It's the bare minimum I would do. And then I'll add to that. Remember I mentioned if you can send one email a week, then you can definitely send 2 emails a week, because the second email you send could just simply be a reminder of, hey, Brian, I sent this email earlier this week. A lot of people were interested in it, got a great response. Just wanted to make sure you saw it. Here's the email pasted below. And you can just paste the same email you sent earlier in the week. All things equal, the more emails you send, the more money you're going to make. One other thing you could do is a little bit more of an advanced strategy. I don't think I covered this in the course, so I want to mention it here, is, with the power of the data and statistics with the third-party email autoresponder, is to make sure you're not bothering people, is you can send your one email a week, and then later on in the week, you can actually segment by people who did not open the first email. So if you don't want to send somebody the second email twice, you can say, okay, well, let me just follow up and send this email again to all the people who did not open it the first time. And that's a reasonable way to do that as well. Okay, so far so good. Let's go ahead and move forward with Module 6. In Module 6, we talked about the top ways to drive massive amounts of website traffic, and this is really where it's time to drive traffic and build your list. So, one of the most frequent things that happens whenever I'm doing coaching with my clients is everybody thinks they have a traffic problem. So the first thing that happens when I talk to people is, when they come to me, is they want to know, well, how can I get more traffic to my site? Because they think that they have a traffic problem, and if they're not making the kind of money or not making any money, they think if I turn on the traffic, then I'll make money. And the thing I always say is, if you can't make money with a little bit of traffic, you'll never make money with a lot of traffic. And why is that? Well, because traffic it takes time, energy, and effort, or it costs money. So if you're already doing that and nothing's happening, you're going to get the same results if you turn on the traffic. So if somebody has a website that's not set up properly, it's not optimized, and there's no list building going on, then I could send 1 million visitors to their website the next day, and they'd probably get the same results, no results. So with that said, make sure the bases are covered. Make sure when people come to your website that they do see an opportunity for opt-in, that you do have your follow-up emails in place. And then I say, absolutely, once that whole process is optimized, let's turn on the floodgates and drive as much traffic as possible. Now, in this module, and this is particularly important, I did talk a little bit about this in the main course, but it just has to be reemphasized, is I believe we talked about 12, 15, maybe even more ways to drive website traffic. Now, there's no way that I have an expectation that any of us are going to implement all those methods of traffic immediately, at least. And I did recommend in the course that you start with one method, master it, then move on to another method. And eventually you do want to have a well-diversified source of traffic. So of all the modules, I believe that this is the module that could really potentially get people bogged down and then really feel like, oh, wow, there's so much to do there, and I just, I don't know if I can do it all. And that's definitely not the intent of that module. The intent of the module was to show you all the opportunities of driving traffic and giving you a menu to choose from, see which one resonated with you the most, and then just master that method, and then pick another method, and then continually diversify your traffic. As you grow your business, you'll have more money to invest in traffic, potentially outsource it, or maybe even build a team. But initially, you can pick a couple of sources of traffic and just focus on that yourself exclusively. And I always say, when it comes to picking the traffic source, it's not about what the best method of traffic is out there. What's best for one person might be terrible for another person. So again, I constantly see in the online marketing world that, this is the hottest method of traffic, and this is what everybody should be doing, and this is where it's all at. And if you're not doing this, you're missing out, the whole fear of missing out type thing. And that's all, that's not reality. The reality is that the best way to drive traffic is the one that's going to work for you and that's sustainable. So I say just focus on your strengths. If you love to write, then write posts and do guest posts. If you love to talk, then be interviewed or create audio type content. If you're okay with doing video, record videos and syndicate them. And what I mean by syndicate the videos is, record a video, upload it to Facebook, upload it to YouTube, put it on your blog, and just put them out in all the different channels that are available. If you do have money to invest, then absolutely test paid advertising and then find out what works and then continually reinvest and grow your paid advertising. I would say just start with one method, completely master it, milk it for all it's worth, and then look into diversifying your traffic. So that's the biggest takeaway from that module. Okay, and then in Module 7, we talked about monetizing your list building business. And this was really the idea for those of you who are interested. So everything up to this point was about you working on your own business and implementing list building into your business to grow your own freelance business, your side hustle. If you're doing a side hustle, it was all about you. In Module 7, we kind of flipped the switch a little bit, and we said that, hey, well, now that you're learning all these new skills and you're going to be mastering them, there's an opportunity for you to actually make money providing these as a service for others. And we talked about several ways that you can do that. So one of my most favorite ways to monetize is through affiliate and referral marketing. So the idea that you could just educate people about these opportunities to build their list, to do email marketing, to drive traffic through any of these several methods we talked about, but then not doing the work yourself, but referring them to others in exchange for like a referral fee, that's completely hands off. And the example I gave in my business is, I do coaching, I do consulting, I do website reviews and audits, and then naturally the question always comes up, well, can you do this for me? Well, I don't do done-for-you website services, but I'm more than happy to refer them to a trusted partner, and I do get a fee for making that referral. So it's basically completely hands-off type of money. This is something you can do in your business as well. We talked about the different tools that you're going to be using, and you can also recommend those tools to your clients and get an affiliate fee for doing that as well. The other side of it is you can do it yourself. You can offer the write the free reports. You can offer to write the squeeze page copy, the email follow-up series, and everything else that we talked about, and offer your own done-for-you services and just add this as an additional, higher-priced revenue stream to your business. And you can, as I mentioned, outsource and manage a team and really kind of like grow an agency, so to speak. And one of my favorite ways to sell is through case study. So really the reality is what's going to happen here is you're going to start using and implementing list building tools into your business. You're going to get results, and really you can educate your clients on these things and then offer them these services. So that's frequently what I do in my business is I'll learn a new skill, I'll implement it, I'll get results, then I'll just talk to clients about that or email my list and let them know, and then they want to be able to get the same results, and so they naturally want to buy the tools that I use, or they want to have that work done for them. So that's one of my favorite ways to sell. So the final thing I'll mention here is that we did provide some additional toolkit and templates for you. So all the templates that I gave you, those are not just for your personal use, but you do absolutely have my permission to use those for your clients as well. So the templates that you have, they're not just for your own personal use, but you can use those templates to work with your clients as well. In addition to that, AWAI has also provided some toolkit and additional resources you can use to sell services and to add these business building opportunities into your business. So absolutely use the toolkit and use the templates. So final thoughts here, and then I'm going to go ahead and open it up for Q&A. My final takeaways here is, eventually, and you have access to this course for years to come. So this isn't like you're going through the course and then implement it all or implement what you can and forget about it. But I'm sure you're going to come to this course over and over again. And as you're ready to grow, you'll find a new method, you'll find a new strategy, and you'll implement it. So this will be a reference course for you for years to come. But as I mentioned, the quick start. If you don't already have it, create one free offer. Add your email autoresponder to your homepage and your blog. Use those templates and have the 5-part automated emails in place. You do that once and it's done forever. You can monitor and tweak those, by the way. So what's really nice is you'll be able to see the statistics on your automated emails. How many people opened up your first email? How many people clicked on the links to go back to your website for your main call to action or for your soft sell signature? What about email number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5? If you're seeing that you're getting a high open rate for email number 1 and 2, and number 4 and 5 do well as well, but for some reason email 3 has a very low open rate, well, you can go back and say, well, maybe I need to tweak the subject line on that email to get a higher opt-in rate. Or if there's a very low click-through rate, people are opening the email, but they're not going back to look at the service that I'm offering. Well, maybe I got to switch up the copy in that email. So you can constantly monitor and tweak the performance of your emails and make them even better so you get better results. On top of that, we do recommend you send 1 email per week. And again, start with just 1 traffic source. And the final thing I'll mention is to leverage trends and learn new skills. So remember I mentioned in this course you're learning a new skill, and this is something you can turn into a revenue stream as far as growing your own business or offering it to others. Beyond this course, I know with AWAI, they're constantly teaching new methods of what people are looking for as far as copy, and you can definitely learn those new skills and implement those in your business as well. And that's a great way to get found for people who are looking for things. So I'll give you an example here. I have white paper, SOS, VSL, and social selling. So here's the thing. Several years ago, white papers, now we know white papers have been around forever, but white papers really became popular, and that was like the hot trend. Everybody had to have a white paper. So if you started creating content on your website discussing white papers and doing some blog posts on, white paper best practices, how to write a white paper, how to get more sales with white papers and things like that. Back then, video wasn't as popular, but maybe if you did videos or went around being interviewed, you would get found and you would be the expert on white papers and people would hire you. SOS, several years back, there was a new style of doing email marketing that came out, referred to as an SOS. That stood for soap opera sequence. So this new method came out, and everybody was learning, wow, this is a really cool way of doing follow-up emails. I want to have a soap opera sequence. I wonder if there's a copywriter who can do this. I want somebody who's an expert on soap opera sequences. And so someone might actually go to the search engines and do a search for SOS copywriter or soap opera sequence copywriter. Or these days, say this was coming out these days, if SOSs were just becoming hot and you started creating some videos, or you went and you started being interviewed telling people all about SOSs and what they should do, what they shouldn't do, and that you're an expert, that's a way to leverage a trend. We all know VSLs, I believe. VSLs really came into vogue at one point. So the point I'm making here is all depending on what traffic source you want to pick. From traffic source standpoint, we looked at doing guest posting. We looked at being interviewed in audios, creating content in your own blog, possibly creating videos. We looked at doing press releases. Here's the idea. When a new trend first comes out, there's literally no competition for that because that term didn't exist. So there was a time where there was no such thing as a VSL or a video sales letter. So if you went to Google to do a search for a video sales letter, nothing would come up because it didn't exist. It did not exist. So as soon as video sales letter comes out as a trend, if you're one of the first people to start writing about it, to start making videos about it, to start going around and basically evangelizing it, then you can basically have first movers advantage, and you can claim early on that you're the expert on this, and you can benefit from being the person who gets found in the search engines for this. Right now, a term that a lot of companies are asking me to write about is social selling. So social selling is like the hot trend right now. Eventually, I wouldn't be surprised if you're starting to see more searches being done for social selling expert, how to do social selling. So if you can kind of get ahead of that trend and start that, you can be the expert. I think actually WAI might have just picked up on this trend as well. So always keep an eye on what the trends are, leverage those trends, learn new skills, and you can be the expert on that, and you can reap the rewards of being found and being hired for those things. And I believe that is my recap and summarization of the program. So with that said, I want to know from you, what is your single biggest question about list building and email marketing? So if you have a question, go ahead and type those into the question box, and I'll go ahead and read those questions and answer them. I see we already have a question or so in there. I'm just going to take a brief break to grab a drink of water, and then I'll give you an opportunity to go ahead and type in your questions. And remember, no such thing as a stupid question. I don't care what it is. I want to know what it is. And if you're wondering something, chances are there's a lot of other people who are wondering the same thing. So don't hold back with the questions. Okay, so Tony had a question, and Tony said, I have an ebook to give away and MailChimp. Okay, good. So you have a free offer and you're using a third-party service. On the opt-in forms, I have seen a link to download the PDF open up for you to download. Can you tell me how to do each of these? Okay, so here's what I would recommend. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking, but what I would recommend is, so they come to your website and they see your free offer. Hey, I have this free ebook. It shows you XYZ, and put your name and email in to download it. Here's how I would handle the delivery of that. First of all, they have to give you the name and the email address to get the PDF. They can't just click on a link and download it from your website. So usually the way this would work is, as soon as they opt in and then they hit the submit button, you would redirect them to a thank you page. And on the thank you page, that's where you would say, hey, thanks so much for opting in. You're going to love this free report. And then click on the link below to download it. So generally, you'll just go ahead and take that PDF and you'll upload it to your website, or if you're hosting somewhere else, that's fine. And then when they click on the link, they can download it directly from your website. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can also send immediately that follow-up email. So you have the template for the welcome email where you can say, hey, thanks so much for signing up, and in case you didn't get it, here's the link to go do it. So that's typically how I recommend you handle the delivery process. So does that make sense, Tony? Did that answer your question? And let's see, let me go ahead and look, just in case questions came into the chat. Okay. Yes, everyone's typing their questions into the Q&A. All right, Sheila has a question. And Sheila asks, is it possible to offer a free report about conversational copywriting? Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So here's the big picture from the free reports so I would definitely put a hook on that, right? Because that's definitely considered to be jargon, conversational copywriting. So to us, we all know what that is because we're copywriters, but to the average person, they may not even know what that is. And the key thing is that you have to put a hook on it. So I would say, what is the hook on conversational copywriting? What's the benefit? So a free special report reveals, and you might even not even say conversational copywriting. You might put a curiosity hook on it or a benefit hook on it. So a free special report reveals a secret method being used right now to help, get more sales, or a new copy method. But yeah, absolutely. Especially at the service that you want to offer. Because remember, the purpose of the free offer is to strategically pre-sell. So I'm guessing that you're probably going to offer them a service that you can do conversational copywriting for them. So yeah, the free report would strategically be, hey, here's this awesome new method, and this is what's really working right now. It's called conversational copywriting, and there's only a few copywriters that are trained on this, and then you kind of go into, and then basically the call to action at the end is, hire, obviously what you should do next is you should hire me to do your conversational copywriting, or we should have a free consult to do that. But yeah, absolutely. So the free offer, what's most important about the free offer, this is a really good question, because I don't know if I went into this explanation in the main course. Really, the free offer, the most important part of it is going to be the promise and the hook, and then from there, the deliverable. And as long as you have the golden thread, right? Are we all familiar with the golden thread of that there's complete congruency between the free offer, the hook, the promise, and then what you actually deliver, and how that all naturally leads into the ultimate offer. So good question. Let me know if that's helpful, Sheila. That answers your question. Elise or Elise asked a question. I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. But she wants to know, so she says, it is difficult sometimes to work alone. I agree 100%. We share the content of the course with a partner in our business. Honestly, I would double check with AWAI support on that. I don't know what the terms are. Most likely, but don't hold me accountable to this, most likely they probably would say that, yeah, if you have a partner in your business, or if you have team members, then that's probably okay. But just double check with support on that one. Okay, good. So we did answer Sheila's question. And let me just scan here. All right, one question's already been answered here. Okay. Any other questions? I don't believe I'm missing any questions in the chat. Any other questions anybody has on what we covered today, or what you've learned so far in the program?
Hi, Brian. I do see one question from Patty. It looks like it was put in the chat instead of the Q&A.
Okay.
I can go ahead and read that out to you if that's all right.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, because I do see the comment, but I don't know if I see the actual chat. Yeah, go ahead if you don't mind reading that.
Okay, sure. Just it was the one, I'm currently struggling with which email provider to start with.
Okay.
And
yeah,
shared a lot.
Like I said, basically they all cost the same. They all do the same thing. And honestly, if you ask 10 quote-unquote internet marketing gurus, you'll literally get 10 different answers. One day, I'll share something funny with you real quick. I remember I was speaking on stage with a bunch of other marketing experts, and the question was asked, well, what's the best shopping cart to use? So literally the first person went, and they said, well, we used to use shopping cart A, but we found that to be really horrible, and we switched to shopping cart B, and we absolutely love it. Then they went to the second person, and the second person said the complete opposite. We used to use shopping cart B, but that's actually really bad, and this is why we switched to A. And then by the time you went to all through, I think there was like 6 people on the panel, everybody basically all used every single one of the tools. They all hated all the past one they were using, and they all loved the current one that they're using. But yeah, my personal preference is I use Aweber, and that's a tool that I personally use and that I do recommend to my clients. So yeah, thank you for the question. And again, take that with a grain of salt, because again, if you ask 10 people what they use, they'll all give you the reasons why they love the one they use and they hate everything else that's available on the market. But good question. One thing I want to emphasize is I just saw this in a Facebook group chat, and one of the topics of discussion is that everybody's, and we're all copywriters in the call, so we can see this perspective, but everybody was talking about, you know, in the Facebook groups, people are always asking, well, what's the best tool for this, and what's that tool I should be using? And someone came back and said, you know, these are really the wrong questions. What the tool is. What's really important is what the offer is. And so they were making the argument that, you know, it's really about the copywriting and the message, and we talked about that. And everybody on this call knows that, because we're all copywriters, or we're all training to be copywriters. So we know that that's really what's ultimately important at the end of the day. So good copy, and we emphasize that with the question about the free offer, and really it's about like the hook and the angle, and of course having a good free offer. So yeah, good question.
And then Brian, Patty had a follow-up question to that. She was wondering, what is Aweber's support like?
Okay, that's a great question. So I'll go ahead and be one of those quote unquote experts who will give you my reasons why I personally recommend Aweber. Aweber, so one is that they're one of the longest service providers. They were actually one of the first email service companies out there, so they have a great track history of maintaining relationships, and I do believe that they have better deliverability. They manage their deliverability in-house as opposed to outsourcing it, and that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, if your emails aren't getting delivered, then there's no point in building your list and sending an email in the first place. To answer the direct question about support, that's actually one of the reasons why I tend to like Aweber, because a lot of my coaching clients, they're not really into the tech stuff, and a lot of times the tech actually holds them back. So Aweber is one of the few companies I know that offers United States-based free telephone support and customer support. So you can actually call them on the phone and have them do the work for you. So they'll actually put your forms on your website for you. You don't have to pay somebody to outsource that. They'll help you set up your email sequences and handle a lot of that work. So yeah, a lot of people find that helpful. That's another reason why I recommend them. And then just because I've been a customer for, 15 years, I'm just a happy customer. So that's another reason. So yeah, good question.
All right, and that's the last question I see at the moment. I guess
Okay.
If anyone else has any others, feel free to put them in.
Yeah, we'll do a last call. So last call for Q&A. This is the time to do it. If you have a burning question inside of you, if you're not sure whether or not you want to ask it, go ahead and type in your question. We'll do a last call for Q&A, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up. So if there aren't any other questions that come in, I just want to close out by saying, again, congratulations to everyone who invested in this course. You made a great decision. I hope you get a ton of value out of it. And most importantly, I hope you implement. And again, just go back to what I talked about at the beginning of the call. Just start with the simplest first step, and then implement it, get results, and then come back and then continually implement the more advanced strategies that we talked about, and then also add more traffic to your website, and you'll see amazing results with that. So, yeah, on that closing thought, I don't think I see any other questions that came in. So thank you again, everybody. It's been my pleasure to create this course in conjunction with AWAI, and I really, really want to hear your success story. So we'll go ahead and I believe we'll end on that.
Thank you so much, Brian. Sheila wrote in and said, thank you, Brian. She's anxious to try some of the things you taught us in the course.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. Go forward, take action, and be one of our success stories so we can brag about you and your success.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Accelerated Copywriting Program. This is Lesson 5. My name is Jake Allen, and I am AWAI's community moderator and host. And with me today, we have the uber-talented AWAI staff copywriter, Tim Matassa. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Jake. How are you?
Very good. And today, Tim, we want to talk about and really restate why the prospect is so important and why it is almost everything when you're writing copy in this way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the prospect is the most important thing to know when you're a copywriter. I mean, when you are trying to write copy, if you don't know who you're writing to, you're not going to know how to write it. You know, you could take any given product or service, and depending on your audience, you could write it in completely different ways. You know, the product is still going to have the same features and the same benefits. But depending on who it is that you're writing to, it's going to mean something different to them. It's going to appeal to them in a different way because they're coming in with different needs, different wants, a different worldview. So you're going to have to know how to talk to them about that product and what to say and what emotions to stir up in order to get them to take the action that you want them to take.
Absolutely. And like you said, it is so important because it can affect all kinds of different aspects of your copy. And in this example that we're looking at a promotion for a company selling gold and silver commemorative coins. So you can probably see these on your screens. And these coins, Tim, represent American presidents. They're priced at, let's say, $89 for each silver coin, $3.99 for each gold one. And our research tells us that the target buyer he's an older guy. He's about 65 years old, lives in a rural area, usually voting Republican. He earns about $55,000 a year. He spends very frugally, owns his own house. So we know a lot. Reading through some of the magazines and newsletters that he buys, we learn even more. We see he's anti-big government. We see that he distrustful of the academics and establishment media, and he's a strong supporter of the U.S. Constitution. So just from these facts alone, we are learning a lot about him. But even then, we're not sure which core emotion is going to drive this particular target buyer into the decision to buy the coins that we're trying to sell here.
Yeah, and I mean that becomes so important then because you get all this great information about your buyer, about your prospect, but what do you do with it? So you need to figure out what is this person's core buying emotion. So you want to start thinking, what does this guy worry about? What upsets him? What makes his blood boil? Those are going to be so important for you. You want to try to understand, in this example, you know, we're talking about these commemorative coins of U.S. presidents. So try to understand, what does he think about America? What does he think about American presidents? What prejudices does he have? What unquestioned beliefs does he have that are going to affect his worldview and are going to affect the way he looks at these things? You also want to try to discover if his past buying history might indicate his fundamental desires or needs. That's why it's so important that you get that information. With this kind of questioning, it might provide you with an emotional profile of your prospect that contains the following dimensions. So when you go through all this stuff, when you think about all these things, this is what you might come up with. You know, you might surmise that this person is angry that the government has gotten too big and too expensive. He might be upset that government is spending money on everybody but him. That's his perception. He's probably deeply respectful of American traditions, particularly freedom. He is probably desirous of a more affluent life, and he's proud of what he is and happy to be an American.
And not just happy to be an American, but also very passionate. And just by what you said there, we have learned so much about how we can navigate this particular sales letter and how we can target this buyer versus somebody who may have a completely different worldview about American presidents specifically, because these gold coins, we want to target this buyer specifically. And it does sound like, based on what you're saying, that we're trying to fuse this all together, the experience of each of these emotions, all of these beliefs, all of these ideas, like one at a time. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You as the copywriter, you want to do your best to put yourself in that person's shoes, in your prospect's shoes. So you want to try to experience each of these emotions, each of these beliefs, and each of these ideas one at a time. So try to literally try to feel them yourself and see how that feels and see what comes up for you. And then you're going to start going through them faster and faster until they eventually fuse together. You want all of these things all of these ideas and all these beliefs to come together until, like you said, they fuse into one core emotion. And that's really what you're going to be targeting. So if you visualize your prospect with all these things running through his mind every day, think about what it's like for him when he's opening his mail or when he's opening his email. Picture yourself in his shoes, being this person, going to your mailbox, opening a letter, or sitting down at your laptop or on your phone, opening your email and seeing what comes in. What is he thinking? Chances are he's mostly expecting to see things that disappoint him, like notices from the IRS or news about about government spending program or bills, things of that nature. So, that's what he's going to be seeing, and that's what he's going to be thinking about. And that really is going to affect his emotions. And thus it's going to affect the way that you write to him and the way that you try to persuade him.
And those anticipated disappointments, like those letters from the IRS, those are things that you as a copywriter really have to anticipate and really have to begin thinking about how you're going to overcome them before it even comes up in the buyer's mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you need to win his confidence, especially in an example like this, because you have to overcome those disappointments. And one thing to keep in mind with this example in particular is that we're talking about commemorative coins here. This is such an important thing to keep in mind because these are the sort of thing that someone is going to buy because of their identity. This is not something that's going to, change their life or save their life in some way. This is not an essential buy. So you really have to win their confidence in order to persuade them to buy these coins. So that's something to keep in mind. And this is going to affect your sales letter, headline, your lead, the other elements that will reflect your fundamental understanding of what makes this prospect tick. So when it comes down to it, this is what I think the core emotion is that you would discover. You would find that there's a small part fear. There's a much larger part pride in America. I mean, you touched on that, Jake. I think the patriotism would be really important here. And there's going to be maybe a touch of personal greed as well. So your copy is going to provoke those feelings of national pride, but it's also going to stir up resentment about big government, which, as we said, is something we know this person is against. And it's going to offer just a touch of hope for prosperity. This is much more complex idea than simply saying this is someone who feels fear. You have to be more, if you're going to be a really effective copywriter, you have to be more nuanced than that and truly understand the full core complex emotion rather than just say fear is it, if that makes sense.
I think it does. And this is a complex world. It is a very nuanced world. The evolution in copy has told us that much over the years, that people don't operate really on this one emotion level. So what Tim and I want you to do here to wrap up lesson 5 is we want you to spend a few minutes thinking about the fears, beliefs, and the feelings that we talked about earlier in the video. Imagine feeling them all for yourself. So put yourself in the buyer's shoes. Try and take on his patriotism, his level of fear and distrust about certain elements of the media or about other parties, and see how that would affect you as a consumer and as a buyer. Experience them one at a time, but sequentially. So again, we want to fuse them all together, but experiencing them one at a time allows you to have a deeper appreciation for what each feeling means. Then move more quickly through them, faster and faster. They're going to become a blur, but that's kind of what we want to happen. This should help you arrive at not just a single feeling, but an anxious state in which all of these complex, nuanced feelings, like you said, Tim, they're combined, they're fused together. That's the core emotion for this particular commemorative coin letter. Now that you understand how important the prospect's state of mind is, thanks to Tim Matassa here, as it relates to the product that you're writing about for the big assignment, it's time to practice this particular notion, getting to know the buyer and understanding how their fears, their complex emotions are going to play a huge factor into your copy. So go ahead and practice that with exercise 9 below, and then continue with the rest of lesson 5, and we will see you in part 6.
Hey, it's Pam Foster again, and this time we're going to talk about you choosing a product that you want to write about in your big assignment for this program. This is a product you can really sink your teeth into for research, coming up with headlines and leads, coming up with proof of your claims, and all of the stuff that we're going to teach you, you can sink into this one product that you're going to be writing about. So what are these products? Well, we kind of gave you a hint in the text above, but I want to show you exactly what you're going to be choosing from. So we have 5 products. We basically thought about the 5 main niches or industries that use direct response copy and sales letters in particular. So one is financial, one is health, one is self-improvement, there's nonprofit, and then there's a product that actually is being sold retail online. So what we have here is the Boomer Bliss Investment Club. By the way, we made up all of these, but they do represent real product types. But we made them up so you don't have any premonition or predetermined limitations on what you write about these products. We wanted to make them very much open to whatever you think of that will work for this actual product and prospect. So again, financial is the Boomer Bliss Investment Club, and then the Heart Wish Women's Heart Health Supplement is your financial product. Skill Whip is a service, a self-improvement type product. Then Global Belief is a nonprofit organization that is about eco-sustainability. And then the Smoving Box, we totally made this up, but moving is a big deal and moving expenses are a big deal. So we wanted to come up with a product that would help solve that for people. So when you go through them, you'll understand which one you want to pick that resonates with you the most. So how do you actually pick one? We're giving you tons of information to give you a heads up, and then you can decide based on what you read. I'm not going to go through every detail of this, but in your lesson 4 section, you'll find materials for your big assignment. And you open up that document, and what we've done is gone through every single 5 products. I'm going to just show you one of them for now to see what you have. Plus, we have recommendations on how to use this information for your product. Okay, so again, the 5 options are, and then let's just look at one. Okay, so with the Boomer Bliss Investment Club, you're going to have an overview of what the product is all about. This one is a subscription membership club. And then we'll give you details on what that club includes that would be of interest to a potential member. And then we talk about the specs, very specific specs on the club so that you know what is included that people will be buying into. And I'm just scanning through these real quick to give you an idea of the type of information we're providing for each product you can choose from. So that continues with all the different things that it includes. And then background information is basically why this was invented, who created the product, and what they saw as their unique promise to the market. Finally, we're going to give you information on the buyer, the persona, and the profile of who the prospect is for this product and every product that you can choose from here. Company profile and competitive information too. We're getting you started, but you're going to do a lot more research on that aspect, but we're just getting you started to see what else might be out there as an investment club for boomers, which is what this is all about, of course. And we're giving you some fictitious testimonials from people who are already members of the club. And you can use this content to create testimonials for your promo. And that's it. So it's a starting point. It gives you a lot of information to get you going. And as you go through each lesson in this program, you can apply this product information to what you're writing about. So if you're going through the research lesson, you'll be researching specific information on the product you're writing about and so forth. So I just wanted to show you where all that stuff is and how to work with it so you can jump in and pick the product that's perfect for you. Have fun.